table. This is the 745 podcast. I'm your host, DC. This is the first conversation, and I'm excited to have you here with us. Today, we are asking who gets a seat at the table. And it's a question that I would like you to keep in the forefront of your mind anytime you listen to one of our conversations, as it fits the mission and vision of 745. So, today's guest is a manager of education outreach for a statewide early childhood initiative in Texas. She works as a classroom teacher or worked as a classroom teacher, campus administrator, a specialist bringing real world experience to the table. She also has experience in adolescent behavioral health, giving her insight into the emotional needs of children. She recently earned her doctorate in educational administration from Baylor University. Welcome to the table, my former colleague, classmate, and friend, Dr. Stevee Hart. What's going on, Stevie?
Hey, DC. No, everybody calling you DC. Thanks for having me.
I feel like it's only right. We've talked about this for a while, and I felt like it was only right to have you as my first guest. So let's get started. Can you share a bit about your journey in education and leadership?
Sure. How far back you want me to go?
Far back enough to demonstrate that you've been around the world a little bit.
All right. So, I really did not start out as an educator. I think just by nature and family, I was a leader automatically. I'm the oldest child. So I've been the bossy kid. All the teachers said I had great leadership skills. So there's that. But I started out in behavioral health. So I worked in a psychiatric hospital for children who were homicidal and suicidal. I supported the teachers and the clinicians with developing the behavior intervention plans and the IEPs, and really just took theory to practice in the classrooms to support those students. From there, I went on to serve as an elementary school teacher. I worked for a blind co-op in Orlando, Florida. I co-taught for special education and then went on to come to Texas. And whew, it was race wars when I came to
Yeah,
Texas. We had our Hispanic students really rallying against our African American students and vice versa. And the same was with the teachers.
yeah.
So from there, I learned a lot about classroom management and diversity. Then I went on to become the ESL specialist in the Houston area for a campus that opened up. And from there, I went on to join well, am I supposed to say HIV?
Okay, you don't work there no more. It don't matter.
I went on to join a very large school district in Texas and became an assistant principal there. So that started my campus leadership experience. And from there, I am now, as you stated, a manager of education outreach. I felt that I wanted to leave a bigger wake. At the campus level, you're really impacting kids, students, community. And at the university level, on the project that I'm currently working on, we're impacting early learning programs across the state.
Okay. And that's for those who are listening. That's where um, I met Stevie, right? I was at the campus as a specialist, and she was hired as the assistant principal there. And our styles, although different, were very similar in certain ways. And so we began our journey as classmates and friends and partners at that moment. So that's kind of, where I met Stevie. So let's talk about the state that shaped your leadership style the most. Would you say it's Florida or Texas?
I'm gonna have to say Florida. I know when we worked together, a lot of the teachers kind of referred to me as Joe Clark. So I'm standing deliver, lean on me all through and through. But that experience in the psychiatric setting really
Yeah.
shaped my behavior management and really just seeing kids and teachers from a different perspective. On that clinical side. So knowing the struggles that kids are facing, knowing the struggles that teachers are facing on incorporating different strategies in the classroom really led to my beliefs as a leader that really all kids can learn. All kids deserve a fair shot at a quality education.
For sure. So if you could sum all of that you just said in one word to describe the education system or education in 2025, what would that be?
All right. So one word to describe the state of education or the educational system right now, I would have to say opportunity.
Yeah.
Um, I think a lot of people might view the state of education as broken, but really in its brokenness is opportunity for growth.
Yeah. Yeah, my word was politics.
Okay.
Yeah, my word was politics. And I know that, we can look at politics as far as the government, what Donald Trump is currently doing and things like that. But I mean just simple politics on the campus, the district level,
Mhm.
kind of climbing each other's backs to get where we want to go. So let's move on to invited versus included. And how would you describe the difference? Because, I can invite someone to a party and they not feel included in the party, right? And so what's some differences that you see as far as the table of education?
I think when people are invited, they're part of the mission, right? So whatever it is in education, be it on a campus level or the district level, families, teachers, whatever stakeholder, if you're truly invited, you're an active participant, or you seek to be an active participant, or that's the intent at least. So if you are an active participant, you believe in the mission that whatever organization is trying to drive forward, and you want to actively contribute in a positive way to
Uh-huh.
driving that mission.
Okay. And so you use the word intent, right? And I think the word intent is very important in this scenario because I've seen personally, and I'm pretty sure you have, where we invite families and teachers to the table to make decisions. We don't necessarily have the intent to implement the feedback that they give us. And
Mhm.
so when I think about invitation versus inclusivity, I think about how much can the invitee, right, the person that's invited, how much of what they have recommended can you see in the plans and the decisions that they made after the table is closed? And so because that to me, that's kind of where they may come back and they may not. If you're always giving me advice or suggestions and you see nothing, no forms of that included in some of the decisions I'm making, it's very hard for you to allow me to come back and ask you for help sometimes.
So I like how you phrase that. And when we work together, you were very good at this. I think as educators, we're charged with being superheroes.
Yeah.
We have to do it all. You the counselor, you the parent, you the teacher, you're everything. But in that, if we're truly inviting people to the table and to be active participants, intentional participants, we have to think forward on what they are requiring. So you were good at that on the campus level where I kind of was like, hey, this is the mandate. We got to get it done. Where you were like, hey, let's kind of think how this might land with the teachers, or let's think forward on what our administrative team or in our area in that district, what those goals were. And let's get ahead of that. So, as a campus leader, even just as a teacher, if you're inviting stakeholders to the campus or to whatever organization you're a part of, you have to think, you got to be a superhero. You got to think ahead and know what that person is going to require, what they need to be intentional participants.
Yeah, it's knowing your audience, right? If I
Mhm.
work in a district or a campus that has a high mobility rate, right? I was
You
talking
better
to
have a food bank.
yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine earlier, and I was telling them that even if you know that the student that you just registered or enrolled will be gone in the next week or so, what plans do you have at a campus level to include them in the conversations until they are gone? Because they're here
Yeah.
right now, and you would be surprised at the ideas that some parents have. That even if they did not get to stay to see it out, the idea stayed and it
Yeah.
supports other parents. And so I think that's very important. And touching on that, let's talk about the systematic barriers that continue to stop education or educators, students, and families. Um,
This is recorded video. I'm making faces and everything,
yeah,
but okay.
you know,
Systemic issues.
yeah, from being genuinely included, right? Because if we define um, the ideas of being invited versus included, we've kind of come to a consensus, in my opinion. You correct me if I'm wrong. Is intent, right? You're
Hmm.
here with a purpose. Do both sides, both parties understand the purpose and why you're here? And then to take it a step further, will there be any evidence that the voices of that party or that table were kind of summed up, right? And so we look at that. What are some of the barriers to keeping, people from being genuinely included?
It's cliche, but I think at the root of all of the barriers is bias. So it's cliche to say, but it sums it all up. In that bias, you have race. In that bias, you have financial insecurities. In that bias, you have political issues that run rampant through organizations. In that bias, you have language barriers. You have socioeconomic barriers. All those things are wrapped up in one word, bias, to me. And as educators, I feel like we sometimes are good at this, but more often than not, we've got a lot more work to do
Yeah,
where we have to remove our own bias. If we are the hub of the community and we want people to have a seat at the table, we've got to remove all judgment and all bias and preconceived notions about folks and allow them to truly come in as who they are.
yeah. And I'm glad you said the word bias because let's think about the AP, the principal, or even the teacher for that matter, who is seeking to be at a campus and they want the campus to fit their persona, but they land in a campus that has no kind of similarities to where they come from, their upbringing, their belief system. And then they come in with these new, fresh ideas, and the campus and the community is looking like, man, where you get this dude from, right?
Mhm.
I think it's very difficult for most, and this is, my opinion, it's very difficult for most for people to pivot in that spot and say, okay, how do I learn the culture of this campus, the culture of this community? And then how do I still, show my creativity without trying to flip the campus or the community on its head?
So you summed up my first teaching experience. Fresh out of college, I knew I wanted to be in the trenches. I wanted to be at the brokest, blackest school we had in Orlando.
Yeah,
And I got hired at the most affluent school in the district. Um, it was it was very apparent that I was the odd woman out.
yeah,
um, the Title One knowledge and research that I had done, all the behavioral health experience I had, could not be applied in this setting.
yeah,
And I had to start at a baseline. But I think someone in that situation has to find their niche. So
yeah,
when you get your footing, you'll see someone that will benefit from the tools or the strategies or the knowledge that you have to give on that campus.
yeah,
Very quickly I realized my kids, they lived across the tracks. And those kids that I was seeking to serve, they were at that school, but it was only a handful of them.
right,
And I was that bridge for the teachers to communicate with those parents and then to break through to those kids. So once you put your bias aside, you don't have to drink the Kool-Aid. You don't have to drink the Kool-Aid, but put your bias aside long enough to be able to see what the vision is for the campus or that organization and really see how you can support driving that mission forward.
right,
You'll find your footing and it won't feel like a gut punch every time you're trying to implement something or every time you have a fresh idea that maybe is not received right then. Eventually it will be, or you'll tailor your idea to fit to meet the needs of the campus and yourself.
right. Not well put. And I think that the goal is usually around the same. It's just that we have different avenues and paths that we take to get there. And sometimes you have to allow people to mess up. Like, right? Like come in, and make your mistakes, learn from those mistakes, be patient until somebody says, hey, I noticed that you did this in this way. Okay, can you show me that? And then you start
Yep.
building what we call relationships, right? That's the goal, is to build those and to continue what this is really for is to educate kids, right? It's to educate kids, whether they're yellow, green, or blue.
There's your schema in that because nobody comes, you think you know it all. You think your plan is the perfect plan to implement on this campus, but somebody's been
Right.
there longer than you. Someone have seen these kids come through generationally. We saw it on our campus that we worked on. Somebody taught the parents, taught the grandma, taught the daughter. Now we teaching
Yeah.
a great grandbaby here. They know that family better than we knew them, right? So be a learner, be open to feedback, and then you can get your footing.
Right. So whose responsibility is it to ensure that those biases do not stop the mission? Because if we're talking at the campus level, right, we know that a leader can make or break a campus. Um, and we can say teachers can, which if the leader allows it, if there's some politics going on with that, that's definitely possible. But who would you say? Well, where does it start? Because the whole goal of this podcast is to make sure that we not only inform people of certain aspects of education, but we kind of interfere with this notion that everybody cannot implement or have a conversation because of their education, their background, or their status, right? We want to make sure that everybody could implement or provide suggestions in some format. And so, who's responsible for making that happen?
The campus leader.
Yeah,
Ultimately, everybody plays a part in ensuring that we drive this mission forward.
yeah,
But the campus leader is solely responsible. Your name is on that school. You were hired to lead that school. You were hired to turn that school around or continue the success of that campus. So,
right,
as a campus leader, it is your responsibility to ensure that your teachers are equipped with the skills to welcome people to the table and drive forward the mission of not only the campus, but the district and really just do what's best for kids. As a campus leader, you're responsible to make sure your front office staff knows that that's the mission, that they're not turning people away. You're responsible for communicating that mission to the kids. They got to know that they feel safe on their at their school. This is their school.
yeah,
So it's a campus leader's responsibility for hiring, for continuous improvement,
yeah.
development, all of that. It falls on the shoulders of the leader.
Right, right, right. All right, so let's start veering off into the space that you're in, early childhood, right? Um, when I met you, that was a space that I was being kind of like introduced to. Now, when I say early childhood, people, I'm talking about pre-K through maybe first grade. We're not talking about just elementary, right? There have been cuts or discussion of cuts. Am I correct?
Oh, yeah, it's been
Oh,
cuts.
okay, so there's been actual cuts. All right.
Mhm.
So when we talk about decisions that are made about Head Start funding, right? Who actually has a seat at that table and whose voices are missing?
Head Start is a grant funded organization, project, initiative, right?
Uh-huh.
And with that being said, it comes from it's federal funding. And the state of our administration right now, for whatever reason, it does not align with their political views and who's influencing it. It's cliche, but we got to vote. The people that we voted in hold the power in their hands. It's not to say that any one party wouldn't have made similar decisions that influence early childhood education,
Yeah.
but this one was obvious. And this
Yeah.
administrative team told us what they were going to do, and the majority of us still went with it. So, with that being said, I mean, with Head Start, they start close to like 800,000 kids across the United States. And when
Mm,
we think about Head Start, it's typically the demographic, a lower socioeconomic status.
yeah.
They rely on this resource.
Right.
Kids can't go to school, parents can't go to work. There's, I think, like 25 regional offices that were affected from the cuts for Head Start, where
Yeah.
people showed up to work and the doors were locked
Wow.
um, at the regional level. And then that trickles straight down to the campus level. So we have Head Start partnerships on
Mhm.
elementary school campuses that because unfortunately it appears that more of the liberal states, they took the hardest hit. So West Coast has a lot of school closures for Head Start.
Wow.
And it's really disheartening because we know who we're serving.
Yeah.
And those parents that go to work at the grocery store, go work at Burger King, or have to go to the mall or something like that, they can't go to work because nobody's there to watch their kids.
Right. Right.
So it's very unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the right people don't have a seat at the table.
Yeah. And, you can invite some people and they still won't show up. We know that. So we're not saying, or at least I'm not saying, that the invitation equates to change. We're saying that you have to give people a reason to come. You have to show that, you know, their attendance meant something, and then it has to benefit them in some way, right? And so when it comes to Head Start and these families that cannot go to work or got to find daycare, we're looking at not only an economic, you know, situation, but we're also looking at an academic situation for babies who could get what's titled Head Start. That's what it's for, right? It's to teach those
Mhm.
fundamentals before they become just, your elementary student. And so across Head Start, you got school equity, teacher prep, who's invited but not included in that area, right? Because now we're forced to do what we have to do with the hands that we have. And so that comes into a different type of professional development if the campus leader is thinking about that, right? If I'm shorthanded in any capacity, I know that my staff members have to treat this differently, right? So who should be included in that conversation?
The people who are going to have to carry the torch.
Yeah,
So if my staff knows that they're going to have to pick up slack because of a vacancy or because of a program closing, I'll take, for example, the district we worked in.
right.
I don't know this to be true. I know Head Start we didn't receive, we weren't impacted the greatest when it comes to the closures for Head Start. I'll say that. So, with that being said, the district that we came from, the campus that we came from, if we had a Head Start program on that campus, I
Hmm.
don't foresee the district leadership saying that because Head Start is no more, that we're going to let these kids not come to school.
Absolutely.
These babies are going to be dropped off at these front doors, and you, as the campus leader, need to figure out what we're doing with them because they're still kids. It comes down to numbers.
Yeah.
Kids are funding. Warm bodies are funding when it comes to school buildings.
Hmm.
So although there is rumored that the program is canceled or what have you,
Yeah.
there's no stamp that says wholeheartedly, we're not going to get paid for this baby tomorrow. So I don't
Right.
foresee districts turning kids away, specifically the one we were in. So, with that being said, to answer the question, who needs a seat at the table? The teachers who are going to inherit those kids in those classes, the paraprofessionals who are going to need to cover those classes, the
Absolutely.
parents who might volunteer to cover the classes. You have to be innovative in your approaches. There may be a parent, if they're off on Mondays, they might need to come watch this class. They might need
Yeah.
to come make some copies while we put the actual paraprofessional in the class or the teacher. It sounds easy, but what do you do with 4 or 5 classes of kids, 2 year olds and 3 year olds that now don't have a teacher?
Right. And for any parent listening, I guarantee you there's so many events that happen behind the scenes that impact just the day-to-day operations of a school. And you say, hey, that got nothing to do with me. I'm dropping little man off, handle your business. Okay, cool. But how much easier would it be if you knew these things in advance, right? How much easier would it be? Because there's certain things we can't control. We can't control what the government decides, and a lot of times we can't control what the district decides, right? And there are times when we're given this task and our hands are tied at the same time. Well, okay, we sit down with the administrative team. Oh, we can do it like this. Nah, we can't do it like this. That's against the policy. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Well, let's do it like this. Nah, you can't do that either. That's the wrong funding bank. Like, okay. Now what you want us to do then? Like, really, what you want us to do? So there's this frustration it builds. And when you talk about inviting parents and different stakeholders, that may be the difference in the difference in having an answer to your problem, because you never know what parent does what connections they have, right? Because I don't care what anybody says, education bends the rules. I don't care what nobody says, they bend the rules. Do not let anybody lie to you. And a lot of times it's not because they want to bend the rules. It's because the rules prevent us from doing the things that we feel like we need to do. And that's what's best for kids. And so since we're knowing that everything that we're discussing leads to the student safety and achievement, who's positioned now to support the students in this transition, right? Like who's the right people that their parents should seek help from because this change is impacting students' safety and academics.
Parents don't, in my experience, parents do not recognize the strength that they have and the power
Mm,
that they have, that simply their voice has. Some of them do. Squeaky wheel gets the oil. As simple as that. As a parent, these we learned it at Baylor. This is their school, these are their kids, and this is their money. Just placeholders there. So, with that being said, if you see your campus or your district is falling short in a specific area, it's your responsibility as that main stakeholder, as a parent, as a grandma, a mom, a aunt, a community member,
yeah,
to show up at those school board meetings, to vote, to provide feedback, to make your presence felt and known that you are an invested member of this organization,
correct.
that your voice matters and that your opinions matter, and you see a vision for the district, for the campus, for the classroom as well.
All right. And being in the field of social and emotional health for students, right? How would you consider, like a counselor? How would you consider like a psychologist in this as a professional that parents can reach out to when their students are going through changes?
I think everyone, maybe not even just in education, we take for granted the resources that we do have. Like a counselor, I think whoever is in charge with monitoring the social and emotional well being of the kids on campus, of the teachers on campus, they're a great resource to find out what's going on the campus and how you can contribute to driving home the mission and supporting the campus. But anybody that's going to listen to you is the
Yeah,
person that you need to talk to. It can be
right.
the front office clerk. It can be another parent. Don't get caught up in that other parent, but
Yeah, yeah.
make sure that you're talking. Don't just take what's given unless it's given with with the intent for success for your kids.
Okay, okay. Good, good. Now look how you put that, and I want to let that lead us into our last segment here, which is takeaways for the journey. I want to end this conversation by offering advice to our listeners. What would you say to a parent who feels unheard and a staff member who's unsure on how to advocate?
The parent that feels unheard needs to keep showing up. Follow the chain of command. I mean, of course, safety non-negotiable. If there's something that's urgent, handle it appropriately. If you need to call authorities, if you need to go straight to the school district, do what you got to do to ensure the safety of your child, right? But for instructional purposes, for just curiosity, things that you want, ideas that you may have that could influence the district or the campus. Follow the chain of command. Reach out to the teacher, reach out to the school administrators, climb that ladder, attend those board meetings, make your presence known. You can't just do it one time. Sometimes 2,000 kids on a campus with two, maybe three administrators. That those 2,000 kids may or may not have two, four, six parents or
Yeah,
family members. You can't just say something one time. You need to make yourself known, make your presence known, and be consistent. If you are not invited, eventually you will be.
yeah,
Somebody is
absolutely.
gonna hear you. If we keep seeing you, if it's even just out of convenience that people sick of seeing you, they gonna pull you a chair up to that table. Come on. She come up here every Thursday. We might as well make her a permanent piece of this meeting. Okay. They'll give you a job. They will give you a job on the campus level because you're available. Um, I would say also to the parent that doesn't feel heard, make yourself available. You are continuously bringing a gripe or a concern to the campus. Make yourself available for service. That might soften the blow or create that connection, that relationship where you can communicate to the person in charge that could really change the thing that you're seeing that needs improvement. To the teacher who
Uh-huh.
does not know how to advocate or is timid about advocating, was that the question?
Yeah, so staff member unsure how to advocate because this could be a teacher, a custodian, or anybody, just a staff member.
Just do it. If you feel the urgency or a sense for advocacy, that means it exists. Something is lacking. Somebody needs to be stood up for. Someone needs a resource. Something is lacking. So just do it. Similar to the parent that feels unheard, it might not land the first time, but if it's something that truly needs improvement or needs advocating for, it's gonna circle back. It's going to circle back and you'll be vindicated. Not that it's a competition or anything, but you don't have to say I told you so, but it's gonna circle.
Yeah, I had one time the lead I hate using the word cafeteria, but nutrition department. She pulled me to the side during testing season and she was like, uh, Mr. Cooks, listen, y'all got to give me the schedule when these tests gonna happen because I got a bunch of kids coming here at one time and we just ain't moving fast enough. And if I had known, da 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 da, I said, oh, okay, calm down. I got you. I hear you. And it was my job to make sure that, that was relayed to our test coordinator, right? And it was, but the test coordinator didn't make that change and it kind of slipped her mind and it happened again, right? That falls on me. But the thing is, she spoke up and for the rest of the testing season, it was flawless. Listen, and I say this before we, wrap this up. If you are in the maintenance, nutrition, transportation, I don't care if you get gum off the bottom of a school desk. You matter. You're important. And there are people that see you. I'm one of them, right? I come from a very humble background. And so I want you to remember that you're in a space where you are required to speak up because you play a part in a child's educational journey. And so thank you for everything that you do, right? And this podcast, this show, this is for you just as much as anybody else, right? And parents, please make sure that you speak up as well, that you attend meetings. Just don't come to open house only. The school recital. I would challenge you to choose, once per semester outside of your normal visits to start off, just coming to the school, volunteering. And once you get the, understand the culture of the school, it may impact your decision to stay or leave. And so you may need to visit a little more often and make sure you communicate with your teachers.
I don't ever want it to be communicated as parents who are absent or can't show up to certain events
Mm-hmm.
only fall in that low socioeconomic status. We got
Mm-hmm.
doctors, we got lawyers that can't come to their babies' events. They're equally as important
Absolutely.
stakeholders. Send an email,
Yeah.
have open communication, write a note. If you have questions, send it in. But I agree with you, show up as much as possible. But that's not, I don't want us to get lost and say that, you know, I don't want anyone to think that it's only one subset of people that don't show up for their kids. It's
Yeah.
everybody that has demands in life that's taking place that they can't, for whatever reason, can't show up for the kids the way that they maybe want to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well put. Well put. We want everybody. Like I said in the promo, your mama, your sister, your daddy, your uncle, your cousin. I don't care what you do for a living. If you have a child in school, we need you. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. All right. So you can connect with Dr. Hart on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Hart Stevee, Stevee, to follow her insights on early childhood education and outreach. Until next time, this is DC with the 745 podcast. From the community to the classroom, keep changing the game. AM or PM, it don't matter. Tune in.